It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Hello and welcome to Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mason Schmidt, here with my best bud, Corey Knudsen, as we get ready to crack some cold ones and talk about movies. Today we'll be discussing what films we've seen lately and what new releases are on the horizon, as well as provide some updates on some physical media releases and the latest notable developments in the world of movies. But first, Corey, how have you been? And second, what are we drinking today?
We are making a return to Prize Brewing. After last week, we had the Mass Hysteria, one of your favorite IPAs. I saw this one, really cool can, the Prize Glamorama. Kind of, I don't know, interesting can. They got some weird, phrases on there, but whatever. It's pretty good. West Coast IPA.
Very hoppy.
Very hoppy, which I like. I know you're kind of coming around on it.
Trying to figure out IPAs, but this is definitely going to be a beer that I drink slower, which is something I need help with because whenever I'm eating or drinking anything, if it's in front of me, it needs to be gone. So the episode that we did, Twisted Tweez, I was getting fucked up pretty quick because I think I polished off 3 or 4 of them during the episode, and I listened back to that episode. I'm like, oh my god, this monkey needs to get off the mic. He is an idiot. Just rambling.
Longest episode today.
That too, it being our longest episode while I'm sloshed.
Yeah, but this week, big sports week. I don't really want to talk about the Twins selling off their entire team, basically. Yeah. That was depressing. This year's over, so good luck to all the Twins that went somewhere else, because...
good luck, everyone.
Yeah, so that was sad, but we did have the first football game of the season this week. We had the Hall of Fame game, Chargers-Lions, your Chargers.
My Chargers, my Trey Lance-led Chargers.
Trey
played
Lance,
against
baby.
The Detroit Lions backups and massacred them, thankfully, because if it was a close game, I would have been upset. But 34-7 or something
like that? Yeah, he was looking really good.
Yeah, he played fine, which was surprising, because I remember when they announced, Trey Lance is going to be starting for the Chargers, Chargers being my second favorite team, I was like, Trey Lance is on the team? I was like, damn, Mr. Forgettable, I guess. But yeah, I'm happy with that. Finally, football's back, and now I think that this starts football now until, next year?
February, yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, the best time of year.
Yeah, and we had the Hall of Fame enshrinement this weekend, so we had Jared Allen, Vikings legend, who I just love. I think everybody loves him here.
Yeah.
And then Antonio Gates, another Chargers guy for you. I know he's one of your favorite players.
My absolute favorite NFL player of all time. I love Antonio Gates. He's the reason why I really got into football. Growing up, weirdly enough, in Minnesota, but being a massive Chargers fan and being able to root for Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Antonio Gates, and then they also had Sproles, and they had Sean Merriman. They had a stacked team. They never did anything with it, sadly, because Phillip Rivers is we need to get some points right now. Clock's running down, pick 6. All right, sweet. It's what are you doing? You're so good, but just when you need to be clutch, you're not. But
they just always ran into either the Patriots or the Peyton Manning Colts, or just kind of they were always there. Maybe
they could never beat the Chiefs, even if they were way better in a season against than the Chiefs. The Chiefs would always somehow find a way to beat them. And it was just the most because they'd be Monday night games and it's in San Diego, so it's late at night for us watching it. In Minnesota, it's 9 o'clock, and I'm I need to go to bed, but damn, it's down to the wire. Pick 6. All right, it's the fourth quarter. 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Pick 6. Sweet. Thanks, Phillip. Awesome. Go stay home with your 10 kids, because you can't throw a completion to your own damn team. But I say that with love, because I love everyone on the Chargers.
Yeah, so it was a fun little, just getting into the fall season, even though we're still in August, kind of getting that football excitement. I love being able to record the podcast last fall and have football on in the background.
Oh, yep.
Looking forward to getting back to that. So a lot of fun. Looking forward to football being back here. But this week we had the Naked Gun, the 2025 version, come out. So per usual, I watched through the entire franchise as I've been doing. Kind of burnt out on franchise watching. It's been a lot, but this was a lot of fun to actually go through and a bit easier than some of the other weeks. We had Well, actually, first of all, we had a show called Police Squad in 1982. It was only 6 episodes from Jim Abrahams and then David and Jerry Zucker, 2 brothers. Pretty short-lived, but then in 1988, they made the movie, The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. And this is a movie I saw when I was a kid, and I just loved it. I know you watched it recently and really enjoyed it.
For the first time, yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite comedies of all time. It is perfectly Leslie Nielsen is so perfect in this movie. He is so just effortless at being the straight man and just being funny. Like it is so much fun to watch. You get O.J. Simpson in there, which is great. We'll talk about some of that maybe in a little bit. We'll dive into what we think and if we think he did it, and we'll do a breakdown.
If the glove does or does not fit.
Yeah, we'll get into all that in a little bit here, so stay tuned. But this movie is great. It's just Leslie Nielsen playing Frank Drebin, a police detective who is trying to stop an assassination attempt on Queen Elizabeth. And there are so many jokes in this movie. Like, I hadn't seen it in probably like 10, 12 years. And rewatching it, I was laughing every 30 seconds. Yeah. Like, there's just a joke, a bit, just a comedy that's so dedicated to, like, making you laugh. I wrote down just a few. I'm going to just, like, rapid fire through a few because I just wanted to remember these. They're so great. First of all, the opening credits of all the movies is just like the car driving, like the POV, and it's on the sidewalk, and then it's just like in a house. So one of them's in a pinball machine. It's like a great little bit that they do. And then there's just the constant bit of Leslie Nielsen always crashing his car into something as he's pulling up to a crime scene, knocking somebody over, just going through the police tape or whatever, which is I just love. And then just some little lines that I wrote down here that I love. His partner, played by George Kennedy, Ed, they're talking about a case, and he's like, there's a 50-50 chance of that happening, and there's a 10% chance of that. Brilliant. And then they go to a hospital room where OJ, he's in the hospital. They walk in. Leslie Nielsen looks at him and says, "Where's Nordberg?" His character's name. He's like, "He's right there, Chief." "Oh, thanks." And just again, like Leslie Nielsen, just like effortless, like never breaking at all, just so committed to it is great. He looks in a microscope at one point. He's like, "I can't see anything." It's like, "You got to open your eye." It's like, "Oh, thanks." just so many things. I could go on forever and ever about how many good jokes there are in this movie. Mm-hmm. The last one little line I wanted to highlight is when he's talking to Priscilla Presley, who's also great in all these three original movies. He says, "Cops and women don't mix. It's like a spoonful of Drano. It'll clear you out, but leave you hollow inside." What does that mean? I don't know. But it is hilarious. It's so good.
Yeah, the original one holds up so well. And it's for a movie that came out 30 odd years ago, and being able to see it for the first time in my adulthood, and for it to consistently make me laugh throughout it. The ending or that final act when they're all around that baseball game and he's umping the baseball game, that is some of the biggest laugh out loud moments of him getting really into the strike two, like just getting so hyped up into it, and like it is so funny. And similar to the recent one, which we'll talk about, there's a lot of jokes. If every joke doesn't land, it's not bad, because you're gonna find something to laugh at, and they're just coming at you so frequently and just nonstop bombardment of jokes that you're gonna laugh at stuff, no matter what your sense of humor is. It is typically that same like wordplay, pun humor, deadpan, serious tone jokes, but there's a lot of stuff that I feel like will make you laugh regardless of really what your sense of humor is, and it works still today. So this movie, seeing it, I think late last year was the first time I watched this movie, and I loved it. And then I bought the Steelbook because I loved it. And my love for this movie that kind of swelled so quickly immediately gave me pause. I haven't seen the second or the third one, which I also did not know that it was like, obviously I knew Naked Gun 2, Naked Gun 3. I didn't know that they had like The Smell of Fear, the final, like I like these little titles that these films have. But the love I have for this original one really immediately made me fearful for the new 2025 one that was coming out. Like, please don't like smother this franchise. Don't ruin this. Don't try to incorporate this into present day and then just drop the ball. Like, if you're gonna do this, make it a love letter. So it gave me great pause. But this first film is a classic for good reason. I know we didn't watch Airplane this week, but I feel like when we talk about spoof movies, it's The Naked Gun and Airplane in that time period. Do you have a preference out of those two between Naked Gun and Airplane? Airplane never really fully connected with me, at least not as much as the first Naked Gun.
Oh, they're so close for me. I love both of them. I'll say equally for right now. I grew up watching Airplane too, so like I just have a soft spot for both of those. But yeah, the second and third movies, The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, and then Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult. Great titles, I love them. The second one was directed by David Zucker again, And it's pretty fun still. With both the second and third, they don't have quite that same magic or like that feel. But they do still have like all the same kind of visual gags and the wordplay and all that stuff. So they're still pretty funny and good, but they just don't quite capture the same magic. The second one, you get Richard Griffiths in there, who plays Vernon Dursley, Harry Potter's stepdad in the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
So he's fun. He plays like this scientist who he's like advocating for solar energy, and the whole plot of the movie is like the big oil and like coal companies trying to just not move to solar energy. So Leslie Nielsen's trying to stop that. One line that I wrote down from this movie that I loved is there's a speech that Frank Drebin gives at the end, and he says, "I want to live in a world where you can walk into a 7-Eleven without an interpreter." Love that. There's not as many great lines in the second one, but that one, I'm like, I need to write that down because that's amazing. So that is great. The third one, there are a couple good lines as well I wanted to highlight. This one there's kind of a few different things going on in the third one. Frank Drebin comes out of retirement, and he's trying to stop these terrorists that want to put off a bomb at the Academy Awards, which is kind of fun. The whole third act of the movie is set at the Oscars, which I like. Couple lines from this one. Frank Drebin, he says, "Like a blind man in an orgy, I was just going to have to feel it out." And then another one is, "I like my sex how I like my basketball, one-on-one and as little dribbling as possible." That's incredible. That's great. These two are still fun. One other thing I just want to highlight about all three of these, and we'll get in with the new one as well, but the end credits. I always sit through the end credits of a movie, whether like if I'm just at home, like even if it doesn't have a post-credits scene or anything. I just like sitting through the credits, listening to the music, all that stuff. I enjoy doing that. But the credits in this movie, pay attention if you're watching any of these Naked Gun movies, because there's so many good little jokes and bits in there. They have like a whole section in every movie that's like people that didn't make the cut but we still like them, and they just credit everybody. And then they also have specific credits for like people that have one line in the movie. For like, he's getting away, and they put that and then credit the person. So funny. And then they have just random little things of like Mr. Johnson, who's like one of the crew members, then he's like Mr. Johnson's divorce attorney, stuff like that. And then they just have like information about a tornado shelter randomly in the first one. The second one, they have like the general foreman on set, and then George Foreman, and then just his stats of like 6'5", 240, whatever, and like his win-loss ratio. And then they had like the best boy, and then worst boy, Adolf Hitler. Great. And then in the third one, they have, in that section where they have people that didn't make the cut, but we still like them, Marlon Brando as Don Corleone.
Okay.
Just for some reason. It's great. So there's so many things in there, and I really do enjoy these three movies. Even if the second and third aren't quite as good as the first one, they're still just like of that like late 80s, early 90s, really dedicated to the spoof movies, which kind of become a lost art, but got the 2025 version, one that we both have kind of said like we weren't super like anticipating, weren't super excited for.
Some of the bits in the trailers, at least initially, didn't really work for me, like the whole him like the little girl going into the bank, and then she takes off the mask. Oh, it's Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin Jr. And I was like, oh, okay. And like seeing the names that are attached to it, at least that gave me some hope. Akiva Schaffer, who I really like, obviously with his involvement with Lonely Island, but mostly I love Hot Rod and Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping. I think those are really, really funny films. So the team behind the camera, I at least had some hope and some optimism with. But some of the jokes, at least highlighted in those initial first couple of trailers, I was like, okay, like rein it in. Where are we going? And seeing Seth MacFarlane, who I love, obviously with Family Guy, also coming on and being a producer of this film, I was like, okay, like I love Ted, but I don't know if that's a 1-to-1 kind of ratio or comparison between like the humor in Ted and Family Guy and Naked Gun. lot of pause, a lot of things that this movie kind of had to prove to me going into it, but going into this week and hearing a little bit of like the positive word of mouth already in the first reactions kind of spilling out, I was like, okay, like maybe this will be good. Maybe this will be a fun movie. Maybe I'll laugh a lot. Who knows? And then thankfully, this is a movie you and I got to see together in theaters. We saw it, was it yesterday morning? And just immediately when the movie started, it won me over. And it starts with that bit of the little girl skipping into the bank, and it immediately worked on me. So I was ready to go into this movie like, all right, prove to me that this is worth being around, that this is a worthy successor, continuation of this franchise, and kind of takes that really kind of somewhat dated spoof comedy aspect and reincorporates it into modern day. Can they do it? We don't really have these types of movies made nowadays, especially like mid-range budget comedy films going to theaters. That's something we don't really see anymore. And this is a comedy movie through and through, and it's a joke a second. And not every joke's funny, but some of them had me fucking cackling. So I was so happy, won over, and pleasantly surprised by this movie. And we'll get into more of the specific jokes, but Corey, your reaction to this movie once it got started and rolling?
Oh, absolutely. This was one of the biggest surprises of the year. Kind of like you, just the trailers. I was like, there's some jokes in here that are capturing that feel, and other ones where I'm like, is it going to just be like kind of low grade, like lowbrow humor? Yeah. Thankfully, like even like most of the jokes work. I'd say it's like 80-20, like as far as like kind of how much it worked. But even like some jokes that don't work for me in other movies worked better for me here, just because I was having such a good time. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. It's fun.
It's so in line with the rest of the, well, at least the first movie for me. The rest of the franchise for you, I haven't seen the second and third, but it's so in line, and it keeps that same charm to where even if the jokes aren't funny, it's still true to this franchise, and it fits the world that they've established. And you get like where Leslie Nielsen is crashing into everything he's driving, or when he's driving. We have Liam Neeson pulling away in this electric car and pulling all the charging stations and pulling the wall off of this prison, and just like, and then all the prison guards running out, and he's like, I hate what the city is becoming. And it's just stupid humor through and through. When did the movie like win you over? When did you know, okay, this is going to be fine? Because for me, it was once they get to their police station. So after that big climactic kind of opening of the movie, and once you find out that the entire movie is based around them trying to find this plot device, which is called a plot device.
That's what I was going to mention when they're at that bank in the opening scene. Yeah. And Kevin Durand, who's great in this movie, I love him as an actor. He's like breaking into the vault, he blows it up, pulls out the thing, and it just says plot device, like PLOT spelled out.
Being an acronym.
Yeah, and I was like, yep, they understand.
They got it.
They understand what this movie should be. That's what I knew. I was like, perfect, that's great. This movie, I think it's really a great blend of that Naked Gun spoof, kind of the airplane humor of the 80s and 90s, and then also bringing Seth MacFarlane, I think, is a perfect pairing, because there's so many bits in this movie where it's like a Family Guy sketch almost. Yeah. And you even had in Ted 2, like, one of the funniest scenes in that movie is Liam Neeson at the grocery store getting a box of tricks. Yeah. And it's like, oh, he can do comedy. Like, he's really funny, so this will work.
I'll remember what you did for me here today.
So I'd prefer that you didn't.
You didn't?
So that I was like, okay, Liam Neeson can do this, and he's so good in this movie. Like, he in interviews, he's been like, I went in every day trying not to be funny. Like, that was my goal. He's like, I didn't want to play this like I was doing it. And that's like what Leslie Nielsen did too. Like, he was just the straight man and just saying all these ridiculous things, which is so funny. And then I think he pairs really nicely with Pamela Anderson too.
Fantastic.
It's been great to see them on their press tour. Like, it's so delightful, and like maybe they're dating in real life, possibly. Like,
I hope so. I think they'd kill it. Yeah.
I think they're kind of talking maybe. So it's just really sweet to see them. And great to see Pamela Anderson back. Like, she's been such a icon of just being the sex symbol and like Baywatch and all this stuff, but to see her having this second act of her career and just even in interviews too, she's just so appreciative and genuine. She's like, I was fine just like at home making bread and gardening, and like I was doing okay, like I was fine, but she's like, I'm so happy I get to act again. Like, you just feel the genuine nature, and that like transfers into the movie too, where you can feel she's just having a great time in this role.
Yeah, she has a genuine sweetness that surrounds her, especially in this movie and in the last Showgirl that came out last year, which was a movie I was pleasantly surprised by, especially by her performance. But here, she has comedy chops, and her and Liam Neeson as a pairing, They are comedic gold. They are one of the best matchups on screen that I've seen in a comedy in a long time, which I really appreciated and was really caught off guard by. I was expecting, not to kind of give away, like, I don't have many gripes with this movie. My only gripe really is that I could have had more, or wish I had more Paul Walter Hauser as kind of that his buddy, kind of where we got in the first couple of films, or at least that first one where he has like George Kennedy to kind of play off of. This one, I'm like, I need you to have a partner, and we get moments with them, and they're funny, but it's just like, I kind of want, selfishly, I want more Paul Walter Hauser. But I think Pamela Anderson really does sidestep and is a better complement in a lot of scenes, and they're back and forth, and it's just like her coming over for dinner and all the jokes that are in within that, and a lot of which you see in the trailer. The trailer does highlight some of the best jokes. Yeah, the trailers didn't super work for me all the time, but they also highlighted a joke in the trailers that I thought wouldn't work for me, and then I laughed a lot about in the movie, of like him driving and having to shit and then going to like a McDonald's bathroom or whatever and just desk like shooting up into the ceiling. And I love the commitment to like, hey, Frank Drebin Jr., you're not doing it right. You're not doing it by the book. You're breaking a lot of laws. And he's like, I'm a cop. I do what I need to do. Like, fuck it. Like, who cares? And it works so well. I think the villain was somewhat enjoyable. I was worried going into that, like, into this movie, that once you take the character of Frank Drebin Jr. or Liam Neeson out of a scene, is it still going to keep that humor? And there's movies or scenes within this movie where it's just like the villains talking around a conference table of like what their big master plan is, and you get so many good jokes, stupid jokes, of them chiming in of like, oh, crab people, they got crab hands, and it's just like super wild humor and random, but it works and it fits the tone of this movie through and through. So I was so pleasantly surprised. I didn't want this movie to end, and also it's so similar to the first one. So tightly paced. It's a short movie. It's like 85-ish minutes. And then you get to the credits and you don't want to leave when the credits roll, because you get all those amazing jokes in the credits. And you also get to hear one of my favorite in-movie songs that we've not necessarily heard reference to, but we've heard that Frank Drebin Jr. has a call to sing songs or record music. And then you get to hear him in the end credits, and it's perfect, of him just discovering shit in the recording studio. Oh, drums, boom, hitting that, like stuff like that. It works really well. I was so pleasantly surprised by it. I had a good amount of kind of worry going into this movie. Is it going to be kind of a bastard child of the Naked Gun franchise, or is it going to be something that lives up to the legacy? And also, could we maybe get sequels now off of this? Because I'd be first in line for a sequel to this movie, because it was just so pleasant and fun to watch, and kind of your hit to miss ratio of 80-20 jokes. Yeah, it's about the same for me, but those jokes that didn't land, they work still in the world of this movie to kind of really fill it out into a real relatable Naked Gun lived in world that I just loved, and it's super charming. So it was a great time at the theater.
Yeah, I think that they just had such a good understanding of like what franchise they were making a reboot to, because even early on there's like a joke with Paul Walter Hauser and Liam Neeson where they're talking, and you know, Frank Drebin, he's like it's tough to fight City Hall, and Paul Walter Hauser's like, yeah, Frank, it's a building. Like, that is so essentially, like, you can picture that being a line in the original Naked Gun.
Exactly. A lot of the best lines in this, I'm like, this is something that could be said in the first movie.
Yeah.
And it would still work.
And there's so many just other good little bits. One with a TiVo and recording over Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's where it gets to be like that Family Guy type of humor where the joke just doesn't end, and it gets to be almost uncomfortable, but it's so funny, especially when it's played so perfectly by Leslie Nielsen, by Liam Neeson in this movie. Mm-hmm. And it just, like the poop joke worked for me, which I wasn't anticipating, and also the aftermath of, or like the setting of when that joke is taking place, and how we got to this point of them in an interrogation room with Busta Rhymes, mm-hmm. and him just being like, "Oh no, don't need another burrito or a chili dog," and just it's so good. It's great absurdist comedy, and it's hilarious, and it works, and it's played so perfectly by Liam Neeson.
One of probably the hardest I laughed in this movie was a bit with a snowman.
Yep,
it is incredible. It's another one where it just keeps going. You're not like. It's kind of a scene from the original where it's like, you know, the two leads like on this little getaway.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. And then just see like a Ouija board come into it and a snowman and just
book.
Everything is just like, where is this going? You're like, oh, this is great. So many standout moments in this movie. I really don't have any major like flaws because it's just like, again, like some of the jokes don't land, but like in a comedy like this where every like 20 seconds you could be laughing, that's impressive, and it's one of the best comedies I've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I can say that confidently. I don't know that I've had more fun at a theater this year. Like it's in my top 10 movies for sure. Like I liked Fantastic Four more. I think Sinners, which we have the steelbook of here, is a better movie, but like this movie was just so much fun through and through.
Yeah, so enjoyable.
It's consistent. Like it's like you said, it's like an hour and a half too. So it's
Yeah.
just a nice brief watch. I love this movie. I cannot wait to rewatch it. I can't wait to just recommend this movie to people. Like I was telling people at work yesterday, like you need to see this movie. It's great. It's essential comedy of the 2020s.
The synopsis we have on here is this the one from IMDb, the one that says only one man has the particular set of skills to lead. That's perfect. And getting the current Liam Neeson of him being, or at least the 2010s Liam Neeson of him being an action star and having him take on the Frank Drebin lead role in a Naked Gun franchise is just genius, and it's played so well. A lot of the jokes that really worked for me were ones that I kind of went into like, okay, it's not going to be that funny. And then it just had me cackling. And that snowman sequence, one of the funniest things to me is when you're laughing really hard, and I could feel that scene hitting you so hard. I was like, yeah. And you trying to like... When you're in a theater environment and you're watching a comedy, it's like you have to try and gauge how much of your laugh you're letting spill out into the auditorium and like drown out everyone else. But watching Corey just tuck into his seat, just dying about it, I was like, hell yeah, thank God.
It was great.
It was such a great experience. Big surprise. It's up there in terms of like surprises, like Final Destination Bloodlines from this year and EFIS for me. Like this year has had a good deal of surprises that caught me off guard and really won me over. It's not necessarily my top 10, but I did love this movie. I love how committed it is to being just a comedy film. Like there's not really a whole lot of other like subgenre work done in this movie. It is a comedy through and through. You get Liam Neeson's like almost noir voiceover throughout the movie, and again it's straight up deadpan, but everything he's saying is absurd, so it works in support of this film. So go see it. It's super funny. It's been a while since we've had just a straight up comedy in theaters, especially a spoof comedy, so check it out, especially if you're a fan of the originals. Even if you're not, I think that this is a good thing to kind of come into, get exposed to, be like, what the fuck is this? And then maybe go back and watch the original three. I still need to watch the second and third, and now watching this reboot makes me want to go back and watch the second and third film, so I'm going to go check those out likely soon. But The Naked Gun was just such a great time in theaters this year. Moving into a completely different genre of filmmaking, this past week we had Naked Gun. It was Naked Gun week, basically. But as August is kind of slowing down, we are getting a couple of really good horror films that I'm really excited about. We have Weapons coming up this week, but this past week, releasing the same week as The Naked Gun, was Together, which I've heard a lot about. Mostly like, oh, it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, it's like the posters and the trailers have been really effective. And seeing like the body horror edge, I feel like after The Substance, everything that has body horror is getting like recommended and highlighted so extensively to be like, oh, now we got this movie with body horror, which can be a negative to a degree. But going into this movie, you have Dave Franco, Alison Brie. It's really their movie. It's this couple that they move to this new house. They're going on this next step of life. Alison Brie plays this teacher that is really excited to work at the school. Dave Franco he's kind of figuring out what he wants to do career-wise with his life, but he is committed to Alison Brie, and they move out to this house, and so she can pursue this teaching job, and then weird shit kind of just starts happening. It's kind of a generic setup for a horror film, and then randomly they find this magnetic pull to each other, and their bodies, when they touch, their bodies start almost melting into one bot, and it's just... That's where you get the body horror aspect. I was really excited about that. This is about this movie. This is a feature directorial debut from Michael Shanks. Also, I believe that this film was written by him. I heard nothing but good things going into it, and I had a pretty good time. Again, it's a horror movie that I didn't find scary, so that kind of irks me. But the body horror aspect was very effective. The premise was very interesting. It takes some massive swings. It also has a great deal of restraint within the movie of not really showing their hand too early or really giving you all the answers. It gives you enough for you to kind of pick out and piece together the story to a point where you are like, all right, I have enough to go on. I have enough to kind of formulate my opinion and think about what's happening, as opposed to like, all right, now I know everything. Now the movie lacks all sort of suspense and tension. This movie has a good amount of restraint, so you can kind of just like piece it together and like, oh, that makes sense. This must be what's happening. This is what's going on here. I think the performances, especially by Alison Brie, is the like highlight of this movie for me. Dave Franco is really good. I think that there are times when his performance gets to be a bit over the top and a bit hammy. But them as a pairing, obviously they have chemistry. They're a married couple in real life. They work really well in this film. They were also in a movie a couple of years back, or maybe 5 years back, called The Rental. I don't remember exactly when that movie came out. That has both of them in it, as well as Dan Stevens. I enjoyed that movie. So seeing their on-screen chemistry really works here as well. Not a lot of scares. There's some decent moments of suspense, but the underlying thing is what is happening, the question of what's going on here. And I think that has enough intrigue and interesting kind of subcontext and what's going on here and what does that mean for the characters and why is this happening to this group of characters is really interesting. So while it's not the scariest thing I've seen in a long time, while I really actually wouldn't say it's scary at all, I think it's a pretty pleasantly surprising body horror film. And the body horror, I think, if you're new to body horror or you're like, I don't know if I can see it, it might gross me out, this is like a good one to like tip your toe into. It's not like egregious or gross or super upfront in some of the ways that The Substance might have been. This is kind of like a good one to try and test the waters with. You have a really kind of limited cast. You have a good premise and a lot of that intrigue there. It works overall. Again, it just didn't scare me. But I would typically recommend this to anyone that, like, if you've seen the poster or the trailers and you're like, you know what, I want to see what that is, go see it, because you'll probably like it. Corey, I know you didn't see it this week, and it's probably just going to add to that back catalog of just, like, homework of movies that we missed throughout the summer that we need to catch up on. But where's your anticipation like for the movie Together?
So I planned on seeing this week, and then I have a weird work schedule where I work like at night, so I try and see movies in the morning.
He's a prostitute.
Yeah. So
very loose.
Yeah, I'll put some information into the
description.
In the description, so you can find.
You can
the,
cash
you
app
very
him?
loose.
Yeah, you really blew past that, and I was like, oh, okay.
I just
Those were the worst things I've ever said on here.
Wild shit.
You can cash app him, send him your address. And
Yeah,
he'll stop
Zelle,
by.
Venmo, whatever. It doesn't matter. We'll get into that later. Anyways, I planned on seeing this movie in the morning, and then I slept in until 1 p.m. And then I was like,
Had to go to
well,
work.
that is not enough time for me to see this movie. So I'm going to see it tomorrow. I'm excited for it. Just another like original horror type movie.
Yeah.
I always appreciate, and I like Dave Franco and Alison Brie a lot, so I'm excited to check it out.
It was really fun seeing this in a theater that was relatively packed. I saw it like the opening night, which I think that this movie came out like almost midweek. I forget. It had kind of a weirder release. But packed theater. Almost every seat was filled, which was really cool to see for a horror movie. But typically when I go to see horror movies opening night and it's a packed theater, that usually doesn't bode well for me. I feel like I have a bad theater going experience. At least when we saw Smile, I almost burned the theater down. I was so pissed. But it was a good theater experience, packed theater, and I could tell, like, there's some humor in Together, there's some suspense, and I could tell that some things were working for other audience members more so than others. The ending might be, and I'm only saying this based on how my theater reacted to the movie, it might be kind of a controversial ending. I loved the ending to this movie. It takes some wild fucking swings, and I think it crushes it. It works, and it's so just to the point, in your face, movie's over. Deal with it. And I'm like, fuck it, I love that. And I could tell by like some of the, what? What's going on? What? And I'm like, the movie does a good point at kind of leading into what's going to happen at the end, and then it happens, and people were kind of, at least in my theater, a little bit bewildered, and I'm like, I think that is a baller ending. So while overall I did really like this movie, I think the ending is one of my favorites from this year. It's so weird and out there, and it worked for me. But if it didn't work for you, or if you're going to go see it and you're like, I don't know how this movie is going to work for me overall, give it a chance. It might kill it. It might be just like, you might not like it, but I think you can go in with the expectation that this is a well-made film, because I think it was really well done, regardless of what you're going in there trying to get out of it.
yeah, I'm excited to see it tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll talk about it next week and maybe dive into some spoilers about that ending too.
Yeah.
I took it a little easy this week, so the only other thing that I watched was the new MCU project on Disney Plus, which is Eyes of Wakanda. It's an animated 4-episode series, and essentially it is about going through the history of Wakanda, going back in history, and seeing these people, these Wakandan warriors who are recovering artifacts, and just kind of getting a different glimpse. Like the first episode is set in like Crete, and then the second one is like the Trojan War. You get the third one in China, the fourth one it's like set in Ethiopia, and then kind of in Wakanda as well. So it's an interesting idea, and sort of in that same vein as What If, kind of like just of showing individual stories of these different people throughout history. So it's a very fine watch if you're like a big Black Panther fan. I think that it's kind of a cool look into the lore and mythology of, you know, what this civilization has been that's kind of been hidden for a while. For me, it was a fine watch. It didn't like surprise me all that much. It didn't make me angry at any point. So it was just very in the middle of just kind of being like, yeah, it's fun. My favorite episode was the Trojan War. Like they do the whole Trojan horse and going in there, and like there's a guy from Wakanda in there that's trying to recover an artifact that they have in Troy. So it kind of adds like a fun, like that what if element of like, what if there was a Wakandan artifact in the Trojan War, something like that. So it's fine. I think it's cool. The animation I wasn't a big fan of. I don't know. It kind of looked like Disney Channel-ish of like that quality a little bit. And like I think I know what they were going for, but it just didn't quite work for me all the way.
Some people, and I didn't watch all of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch all of it, but I saw similar complaints for people thinking that the animation in that looked cheap. Where I thought that was like, I thought it was really cool and minimalist, and it worked for that show. Is it kind of minimalist, or is it that same style, or is it more in like the style of the What If animation?
It's different from the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I agree. I like that a lot because I think
it worked really well for that.
I think it feels very much like a comic just come to life in that. And this one, like, it was sort of like What If, but I don't know, kind of like a weird in-between point.
Okay.
But it's okay. They tie into like the first Black Panther movie a little bit in the last episode. You get some references here and there, so it feels like another kind of like Ironheart of just these projects they've had sitting around for a while, and they're like, we kind of want to get them out and like get into our new phase of like chilling out a little bit, but we still have these things we need to release.
Clear house, and then we'll get started.
Yeah,
we'll restart where we're at and like focus on what the more pressing kind of product or topic is of the MCU.
This sort of reminds me of like what Star Wars has done with like Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, just little stories. Like it's inoffensive. It's really not like a big game changer as far as the MCU goes. It's not like, oh well, this is one of the best things, it's one of the worst things. It's just in the middle. It's fine.
I hope moving forward, I didn't watch Eyes of Wakanda, but I hope moving forward that the Disney Plus shows for Marvel and even for Star Wars kind of take more of a backseat in terms of like, this is good, like superfluous information that you could look into and dig deeper in, but it's not 100% necessary for the next feature. Because with a lot of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, I've seen a good deal of the live action shows. There are some, like Hawkeye I haven't finished. I haven't touched Ironheart with a 10-foot pole. I haven't watched all of Agatha, but I've watched the ones that I wanted to watch. I got some enjoyment out of them, but I'm like, I'm not always eager to stay up to date with these Disney Plus releases. And I hope that they kind of... WandaVision was really like pressing, and it really changed a fundamental character in the MCU and almost gave us a full coat turn for that character of Wanda. So it was like, all right, I feel like that this is necessary viewing. You need to see this before you see like Multiverse of Madness. So it's like, I hope that these shows kind of take a back burner in terms of like world changing, MCU changing events, and just like, all right, give me good background information, something that I can dive deeper into, which this kind of sounds like it is. So it goes throughout history, but is like every time that they venture back to Wakanda, is Wakanda still like the like technologically advanced like utopia that it is in current day, or is it still like how is Wakanda represented within this franchise?
It's still pretty like advanced. They still have like you see like the like train system almost of like the light rails or whatever it is. They still have that, and they still have all like the vibranium, obviously, because I think like in the first Black Panther movie they showed like the vibranium comet or whatever it was came there. So like they've had this technology for a while. So it is like interesting in parts to see just like Wakandans in history.
Okay.
Like you said, it's a nice little just background info of like here's some more history of it, but nothing that if you're like I need to be caught up with the MCU, like you don't need to watch this one right away.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I might. Weirdly enough, I've been kind of in a Black Panther kick. I've started Wakanda Forever. I haven't finished it a lot, but I do overall really enjoy that movie, even though parts of it kind of fell flat. So I've kind of been wanting to go through some of the MCU movies that really, like, the first Black Panther, when it came out, was it 2017 or 18?
2018, yeah.
That was such a good time. Just, like, for us, like, there's a lot of nostalgia around 2018, 2016 Marvel even, where I'm like, I want to just rewatch those and remember the good old days of Marvel for me, at least. So maybe I'll check this one out, actually, as opposed to, like, Ironheart, where I'm like, all right, I've heard about all the interesting things that happened in that show, and I know of it. Don't need to go check it out.
Yeah, these ones are like half an hour each episode, so pretty quick.
Easy watch. I did, keeping in line with the MCU, I did go back to theaters to rewatch Fantastic Four, the Fantastic Four First Steps. Obviously directed by Matt Shakman, but I wanted to go check it out again just to see kind of. I didn't really dislike a whole lot in that movie. I really enjoyed it the first time around. I didn't love it as much as you, which I'm thrilled that you did because it was, I think, one of your top of the most anticipated films for 2025, so I'm really happy that it worked really well for you. The biggest thing was, like, one, there are scenes that I want to see again. I want to see the Silver Surfer surfing through almost like a time vortex while they're going through light speed and stuff like that, or like there are awesome moments in the movie that I want to see, but more importantly than that, I wanted to see how Pedro Pascal really worked for me and how the effects for some of the stuff that didn't work for me the first time around, to see if it still lingered in the second rewatch. To say Pedro Pascal, overall, it did improve. I still have like some gripes, or like I can't separate Pedro Pascal entirely from Reed Richards, but I do think that he is a really good Reed Richards in this world, and I think the more I see him in the MCU, I will more kind of adhere Reed Richards to Pedro Pascal, and I'll understand that link, and I'll see him only as that within this world, as opposed to like, oh, well, hey, it's Joel, or it's the guy from Materialist that had the leg lengthening surgery. Like, I'm excited for that. It worked better for me the second rewatch. The visual effects for the baby, it didn't stick out to me as much on a rewatch either. It was only in like distinct scenes, like scenes that I still remember from the first time I watched it. There's a scene when they're kind of game planning, how can we figure out Galactus, how can we get out of this situation, and the Thing, Ben Grimm is holding him on a couch. In that scene, it still didn't work. There are some moments towards the end when Franklin Richards, the baby, interacts with Sue Storm, where I'm like, losing me a little bit. But overall, it has improved in quality, and I've had a similar reaction to a rewatch of the Fantastic Four First Steps as I did to Superman, where it raised the movie for me overall. The thing that stands out still, almost more so on a rewatch, is the score of this movie. It is so good. Like, the visual effects, with the baby are hit or miss. The visual effects overall, I think, are really well done. The score for this movie is awesome. I've started listening to this at the gym now, too. So I'll listen to a little bit of, like, the Superman score and the Fantastic Four score, and it's just like, damn, summer of 2025 is cooking right now. It's so good. But it's a whole different level. I remember in like Phase 2 Marvel, we would have like the same couple of complaints of like the villain's kind of lackluster, the score's like nothing memorable. Whereas here I'm like, we got Galactus, which like this movie does the most with Galactus I think that you could in an MCU movie, and it does it really well. And the score is just so of itself, of its own, and just iconic already to me. And I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, I don't know if I like that they say, the Fantastic Four, like, that they say words in the score. It works. It's so good. The theme is fantastic, so I really enjoyed this on a rewatch. Will I see it for a third time in theaters? Maybe. I might see Superman for a third time in theaters, too. It's been such a fun summer with some of these bigger movies that it's like, it's nice to just go to a movie and get a positive experience with a movie that has a positive message, which we've talked about already. So I hope you see it again in theaters, which I don't doubt that you will, just because of how much you liked it earlier. So I'm excited to hopefully see it for maybe a third time.
Yeah, this is one that is easy to go see again in theaters, especially with other people, because like we said, you don't need to have seen anything before this, so you're like, people at work too, like they know I'm kind of into movies, and they're like, "Can I what do I have to watch before this?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"You can just
Nothing.
go into it blind," which is great. And they're like, "Oh, really? Like, isn't there like 30 movies?" I'm like, "You don't have
This
to really
one
watch them."
is
Yeah.
the most individual of the rest of
Yeah.
the MCU than you could say about any other film aside from maybe the first Iron Man, because it was the first. Like, this movie is so separate in terms of its story. I'm also kind of to go off of what you said of where you can bring other people to this movie. My wife and I are big Florence Pugh and Pedro Pascal fans. Pedro Pascal being the biggest hurdle for me with Fantastic Four, just because I'm a massive fan of him. But I'm trying to get my wife to see Fantastic Four, because I'm like, come on, Pedro Pascal's in it. You'll like the cast. You like Joseph Quinn, because we love Stranger Things Season 4. We love Eddie, that character that he plays. So I'm trying to get her to go see Fantastic Four with me. So maybe my third viewing will be really just kidnapping my wife for an evening to go watch a movie with me. But also Thunderbolts here. We're massive Florence Pugh fans, so I'm like, do you want to watch Thunderbolts? And she's like, yeah. So I'm excited to finally show Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, hopefully, to my wife in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
So.
Great. I did not see Fantastic Four again this week, but it's just sat really well with me.
Yeah.
I still love the movie so much. I don't know if we mentioned last week, but great to see the cameos from the original 4 Fantastic Four members.
Which stood out to me more this time on a rewatch, because I missed when they do the thank you Fantastic Four,
Mm-hmm.
and they're showing of that snippet of these different clips within that first broadcast that really introduces the movie. I missed they're all together in one of them, and they're all waving and saying, I'm like, that's so perfect.
I also missed because we have Alex Hyde-White. This is the '94 Fantastic Four.
Corman unreleased Fantastic Four.
So he's one of the newscasters, and then
ABC.
Rebecca Staub, she's just a voiceover of one of the newscasters as well.
Okay.
And then Jay Underwood and Michael Bailey Smith. They are in the scene where Johnny goes to
the oil
factory that's
the oil
burning up,
thing that's on
and
fire,
there are two of the workers there. I didn't notice that the first time, and then just watching recaps and Easter egg videos, I was like, oh, okay, that was them. So great to see those little cameos from there. So just wanted to shout out that what a great little gesture from Marvel to be like, no, we recognize you guys.
I caught that on the second viewing of specifically that one with the Human Torch, as he's basically absorbing all these flames from this oil refinery, and then you look down at the oil workers, and it's 2 of the cast members from the 1994 Fantastic Four, which is really cool. Definitely check out that movie too if you haven't. If you can find it, you can on YouTube, and also watch Doom. It's a good companion piece of finding out what happened behind the scenes. I think that in and of itself, those two, the failed release of the Corman Fantastic Four as well as Doom, the documentary kind of talking about the behind the scenes, it's a good little conglomerate of what filmmaking can be like, at least on a studio level. I think that it's really informational and really just interesting to kind of dive into that and see something that was kind of a failure to launch for a lot of people, which is kind of sad to say. Aside from my rewatch of Fantastic Four, the Fantastic Four First Steps, I keep misplacing the in the title of that movie. My wife and I it's the dog days of summer. It's August. August is a big month for our family, but we've kind of gotten past I'm just ready for it to be fall. Fall is both her and my favorite season of the year. You get football, but more importantly, you get Halloween. You get the leaves change in color. You get the good temperatures.
Playoff baseball.
It's such a fall is the best season, because then you also get the introduction of hockey late in the season.
Oscar movies are coming out.
Fall is the best season of the year, and I don't take that as an opinion. That is a absolute fact. If you disagree with me, you're going to have to really bring a lot of
flannel weather,
sweatshirt weather. I can wear pants every fucking day because I have very hairy legs, and people have to comment on them whenever I wear shorts. That's something more that's just a me issue, I guess, but it pisses me off. But anyway, we're big into fall, and my wife has really been wanting to watch a lot of the more spooky Halloween type movies this year. And these last couple of weeks we watched the Scooby-Doo films, which aren't the spookiest, but it's that type of feel, that vibe. Which has been great. Us starting this in August gives me an excuse to watch a lot of films that I've never seen before. As we go into the kind of spooky season, the Octobers and the September of the year. But we watched Practical Magic from 1998, which is a film that was, weirdly enough, kind of burning a hole in the films that I've seen. Just because I was raised by a massive Sandra Bullock fan. I have seen Miss Congeniality more times than I could fucking count, and I like that movie, but my mom fucking loves that movie, as well as The Blind Side and stuff like that. So Finally watched Practical Magic from 1998, which is directed by Griffin Dunn. Also stars Nicole Kidman, which I know I rag on Nicole Kidman a lot. At least present Nicole Kidman. One, you have the AMC ad. Then second, you have all the plastic that's within her face from all the consistent and constant work that she's had done. As an actress, I think she's phenomenal. And in this movie, she's great. This Days of Thunder, like, I'm getting a lot of like early Nicole Kidman in the past couple of months. That has really worked for me. But her pairing with Sandra Bullock. Also, we have Practical Magic 2, I think, coming out in 2026 that they're in production on right now. So I'm already, with seeing this movie now, boom, I'm a fan. I'm ready to see the second one. It's so of its time of being late 90s, almost like that early 2000s, like kind of cringe. And I was really pleasantly surprised by this film about these two witch sisters that are raised by these aunts in a small town, and they have to kind of suffer this curse of never being able to find true love. And it's kind of cheesy. It's romantic, but it's also really like sweet and endearing, and it fits the fall aesthetic of being a spooky movie. And while it doesn't necessarily hold up entirely to me, it has the charm of when it was released that kind of smooths over the hard edges of it being kind of a little dated. Also watched The Craft for the first time from 1996, which is directed by Andrew Fleming. He did primarily works now, at least in terms of TV, directing episodes of New Girl and episodes of Arrested Development, which is a show I really love, as well as currently Emily in Paris. But in The Craft, you have, again, another star-studded cast. You have Neve Campbell in another horror film in the late 90s that I completely have not watched or completely missed out on yet. Rachel True. Skeet Ulrich is also in this movie. Christine Taylor, Breckin Meyer, who, whenever I see Breckin Meyer, I'm like, oh, that's the guy from the Garfield live-action movies. That's, what, Andy or whatever his name is. Robin Tunney, and Fairuza Balk, I loved in Waterboy. Watching Waterboy, the Adam Sandler comedy about football, and Mama said alligators brush them teeth are mad because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. I remember that specific line. That movie overall I really liked as a kid. Fairuza Balk is also a love interest for Adam Sandler in that movie. I like her in that movie. In here, I can't stand her. I really liked overall this movie, The Craft. I liked the cast. My only negative was her. I don't think that this woman can act, actually, at all. She has a very interesting face, and I don't want to be rude in that terminology. I don't want to go into Nicole Kidman rant, offending someone because of the way that they look. Fairuza Balk, when I look at you, I'm not happy, and I don't think that you can act. One, your character. Remove that complaint. The character in this movie is also the hardest to win you over, is kind of the rudest, the most blunt, the most grating character in the film. So already it has that to kind of work against. But also then you get Fairuza Balk, and I'm like, I don't love you in this movie either. I don't think that you can act. It's really cheesy. Overall, I think it's a fun witch movie. I know a lot of people that kind of grew up with this movie. It's a big nostalgia point for them, and it's a movie that I see on like countless lists around this time of year of like movies to watch in the fall, good Halloween movies. The Craft is always on there. I know there's a shitty sequel that was made in like 2020 that came out that people really hated. Didn't see that. Finally got to see this. I'm happy that I have seen this. It didn't work on me necessarily as much as Practical Magic did. But I was still happy to kind of check this one off and get the enjoyment out of it that I did, because Fairuza Balk, as an exception, the rest of the cast really worked for me, and I really did enjoy kind of their dynamic. Corey, have you seen either of these two movies, Practical Magic or The Craft?
I have not, actually. But certainly two that come this October, I'll definitely put on my list. Practical Magic I'll probably wait for until next year before the new one comes out. I just really have like never known too much about either of these movies. Like, I'm aware of them, but just never dug into them too much. So excited to watch Practical Magic for sure, and then The Craft. Yeah, definitely a lot of like big 90s kind of stars of like horror movies in there. So certainly interesting. So I'm glad that you checked them out this week and kind of adding more, because I always try and every October I try and watch like through like a big franchise of movies, and then like a few that I haven't seen. One very random note I just wanted to go back to for a second that I forgot to mention. If you're newer to the channel, I started a thing earlier this year where I did an alphabet alphabet watch through of movies, where I was like, all right, I want to watch through movies that I haven't seen before, some classics, some movies that aren't classics, but just whatever. Started with like A in January, watch a movie that starts with A, next week B, blah, blah, blah. This week was my N with the Naked Gun movies.
Oh, so you covered it.
Because it'd been a while, actually. It's been like a couple months.
Had you seen all of them before?
No, I'd only seen the original. So
okay.
The 2 sequels of Naked Gun kind of counted as my N watch-throughs. Summer was just busy, and wanted to shout that out. So next week, or in the coming weeks, now that it's slowed down a bit, I'll go through O, P, just keep going through the alphabet. So I just wanted to shout that out. But yeah, so it's fun to do that.
Yeah, I didn't finish my kind of watch through. Again, this is something that's going to continue on throughout probably December at this point, just because my wife is so big into like witchy shit and like spooky movies, which I agree with, I love. But the movie that I watched actually last night, it absolutely fucking floored me. I love this movie. I can't wait to own this movie and watch it again. It's a movie I've always heard about but never went back to watch. Was Death Becomes Her from 1992, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Robert Zemeckis making Castaway and Forrest Gump, and then also making atrocities such as Polar Express and Welcome to Marwen. As well, was it Here? Or whatever that movie he just made with Robin Wright and Tom Hanks.
Yeah, and Back to the Future.
He did make Back to the Future, forgot. I don't love that movie as much as most, but it is a classic.
That's one of my top 5s.
It is a classic, and it works, but I can't. I was late to the game on Back to the Future, so it's never like held that special part in my heart for that movie. But Death Becomes Her, starring Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, and Isabella Rossellini. Isabella Rossellini, I've always been like, you're a very like attractive person. Like you're just you have such like sharp features, and you just look sculpted. You're a very attractive person. Watch Death Becomes Her, and you'll have to leave the room. You'll start barking. Like, it's insane.
Well, you were barking during Conclave too, weren't you?
Yeah, when she's all clad up, she's the only woman in the entire fucking movie.
I remember you were going crazy.
But in this movie, I was like, whoa, was not expecting this. Anyways, it's a film about this fading actress played by Meryl Streep, she's getting to the point in her career where people are starting to look at her and they don't see her as being this like beauty icon of her time. She's now looking like she's in her maybe 40s, and they're like acting like she's 80 years old and wrinkled as shit. But they don't look at her as being like the sex symbol or this very attractive, beautiful woman. So she finds this woman that offers this immortality treatment in the form of this potion. And she sees it as Meryl Streep sees taking this potion as a way of outdoing her longtime rival, played by Goldie Hawn. So she's like, I'm going to take this potion, I'm going to look young and sexy again, and I'm going to reboost my acting career. Meryl Streep's character is also married to Bruce Willis. Meryl Streep's character stole Bruce Willis from Goldie Hawn. So there's a bit of a love triangle also happening through there. This movie is so zany and over the top and campy at times, and it's also just so fucking funny. The thing that really like skyrocketed this movie onto like my I need to watch it sometime soon, or at least back into like my memory or recent memory, was it was highly referenced in a Sabrina Carpenter music video for the song Taste, I believe. My wife loves Sabrina Carpenter, so by default, I also have to love a lot of Sabrina Carpenter because I listen to her probably 98% of my waking hours, because my wife loves her. Not that I don't love her at all, it's just that I'm not a big pop music fan, but anyways. The music video for Taste is awesome. It has Jenna Ortega and Sabrina Carpenter, and they're doing this on-again, off-again love triangle. They're killing each other. They're trying to win back the suitor, the man in their lives that they've both been fighting over, and then they realize, you know what, fuck that guy, we're better together. And this movie that music video is definitely in reference to this movie, and this movie has such a great energy to it. It feels so of its time, but also it's so fun to watch. Like, it's just so charming. The only negative I have is that it's dated in some aspects in terms of the visual effects in the movie. I also remember watching on like Corridor Crew, they did VFX Artists React, and they reacted to some of the effects in this movie. Some effects are amazing and still hold up. Some of them are a little janky, but overall, I'm like, that's the only negative I have about this movie, is it being dated because it was made in 92. still, this movie is so intoxicatingly watchable. It's so charming and weird, and it fits like the vibe of like the Heathers movie type of humor with Winona Ryder and Christian Slater. And it already, I can feel it becoming like a staple of like my spooky season, October, September, fall movie watch through. And my wife and I both were just throughout the movie being like, holy shit, I love this. Like out loud saying that to each other, because every once in a while I'm like, I don't know how my wife feels about this, so I need to check with her. Like, does she want to keep watching this movie? And I was like, this movie's pretty awesome. And she was like, I love it. I'm like, okay, thank God. Blown away by Death Becomes Her. It's a movie that I loved, and I can't wait to add to my kind of collection at home. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, check out the Sabrina Carpenter Taste music video, because that music video is really cool, and I really liked it. It's well made, but it's also definitely in reference to this awesome movie from the 90s. So thank you, Robert Zemeckis, for making something that I really like that isn't Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, or Castaway. I feel like more modern stuff of yours has really sucked ass. So
yeah, I like Robert Zemeckis as a director. You mentioned like some of his earlier or recent stuff hasn't been as great, but like Who Framed Roger Rabbit is so good.
I forget that he makes
stuff.
That's also awesome.
Like he started off like in the first like couple decades of his career, like really versatile of like doing a lot of different things. Interesting you bring up the visual effects. I know it won the like Oscar for best visual effects the year it came out.
There are some shots in this movie that are still to this day awesome.
Okay.
Like, really cool. But there are also, within that, some that are really dated. You're like, that doesn't look fantastic. But in its time, I could see why it still like would have won that Academy Award.
Sure.
There are some really cool effects done in this movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but again, kind of like the last two you talked about, I'll definitely add that to my list this year. That one maybe more than the other two of just checking out as kind of a priority this year.
Bruce Willis in comedy, I did not anticipate him being so good at. Wow, does he work in this movie? As this like, he was a surgeon and now he works in a morgue, and now he just hates his fucking life, and he's like drinking himself to sleep every night, waking up hungover, and their maid is bringing him Bloody Marys as he's like cheek to the fucking floor sleeping. He's like, thank you. And he's so over the top but perfect in this movie. So the cast does all the work in this movie. It's so fun. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that at some point. Coming out this week for new releases, we have another kind of interesting release week. We have Wednesday, August 6th. We have a movie Sketch coming out, directed by Seth Worley, starring Tony Hale, amongst others. And kind of a more kids-centered movie, it looks like. Mm-hmm. It's when a young girl's sketchbook falls into a strange pond, her drawings come to life, and as the town descends into chaos, her family must reunite to stop the monsters that they never meant to unleash. Mm-hmm. I have seen this trailer a couple times just in theaters. I don't have much anticipation for it, really. Kind of reminded me of like Harold and the Purple Crayon trailer, which I haven't seen the movie, but just the premise of like a kid drawing something and then it coming to life. It seems like it could be a fine enough family movie to go see. I don't know that I'm going to check it out in theaters. I know you have tickets already to see it.
I have a ticket for it, and I decided this yesterday. I was watching again, not to plug them again, but Corridor Crew. They did a VFX Artist React video. They do it every Saturday. And this past episode, they had Seth Worley on, who is the director of this movie. And he was talking about some of the visual effects work that they did behind the scenes in terms of what is incorporated within this film. And that this film he's been kind of working on since like 2015 or 16, he said. So I'm like, damn, it's been a love child for like 9 to 10 years of his life. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. And they talked about some of the shots from the trailer that they've shown or clips. So I got to see a little bit of somewhat of a behind the scenes look at some of these things. So I'm already like, you know what, that's kind of cool. This week is somewhat of a big week, but I'm not mad about having an excuse to go to the theater to see something that with how many surprises I've had this year at the theater, I'm like, I kind of want to just keep going to random movies at the theater to see if something else just blows me out of the water. And I know nothing of this. I haven't even seen the full trailer of this movie. I know the synopsis that you just read, and I know Tony Hale's in it, so sweet. But I'm kind of like, just based on the story of Seth Worley and what he shared on that show, I'm like, I'm kind of won over. I kind of want to go check this out. So maybe I have hopes of this being another big surprise for me of 2025 of movies that just were definitely not on my radar, and then them actually being something special to me. So I have a ticket for Tuesday night late because I have a training in fucking Red Wing, Minnesota on Monday and Tuesday that I have to drive off to, so I won't be home until late Monday and Tuesday night. So when I get home Tuesday night, I'm gonna go see Sketch opening night, which also when I bought my ticket, all the theater was full, so I'm like, that's kind of cool. It's cool seeing, for a family movie, a movie that I feel like isn't as widely marketed as much films that we get to see throughout the summer. It's cool to see so many people showing out for something like this. The movie that is definitely the big release of the week, at least for Corey and I, easily my most anticipated movie for the rest of 2025, is Zach Cregger's Weapons. I love that you put, directed by Zach Cregger, The Whitest Kids You Know, and Barbarian. One, he made Barbarian, which is a wild horror film from the last 5 years. Whitest Kids You Know is a YouTube channel that I died on the fucking floor for. I love that YouTube channel. I watched all of their bits, like the Abe Lincoln bit, the Call of Duty bit. Mom, there's someone on the phone. Mom, he's like, turn off your fucking mic. Just
Grape.
I'm gonna grape you in the mouth. Like, they have so many skits that I don't think would fly today, but it's just the humor that I was raised
For people
on.
of our generation, kids growing up in elementary, middle school, is like, this is hilarious.
I would get home from 5th grade, Mr. Kluver's class, go home, Whitest Kids You Know on YouTube.
You'd be quoting it with your buddies, on the
everyone
playground.
Knew it.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
That was the way you kind of filtered out people and found out you and I align.
We're buds.
We're funny.
Yeah.
So Zach Cregger, anyways, Weapons. The trailer, the premise for this movie of at 2:17 a.m. all these kids ran outside and never were seen again. And not only that, the way that they're running is fucking eerie as hell. You got a stacked cast with Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, and also Alden Ehrenreich, who I completely forgot was in this movie, and also Benedict Wong, who is the savior of the Marvel Universe temporarily at the point.
All these people have been in the MCU.
That's also great. I forgot Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know just because he was an Ironheart. But yeah, that is also a true point. That's crazy. With this movie, this feels like finally. My biggest gripe with horror movies is that horror movies don't typically scare me. The closest something has come to scaring me is honestly watching the Weapons trailer and just seeing the kids leave the house and the way that they run with their hands out. It is the most eerie, unsettling thing I've seen in theaters, and it's just in the trailers. So I'm so excited. I have my ticket for Thursday night. I am eagerly anticipating and awaiting watching this movie. I'm hoping... And I also have a good deal of faith in Zach Cregger to make a good horror film just because Barbarian was something so wild and so well made that I had a great time. Granted, I don't think that movie is super scary. Just horror genre, it works. This movie, I'm like, you have the ability to make something truly unsettling and disgusting and scary. And I can't wait because the trailers have been phenomenal and the cast is exceptional.
Yeah, I hope that because the setup for this movie, like you mentioned, is so good. It's, and I hope it sticks the landing for sure because, there's been so many movies where I see the trailer and I'm like, oh, this looks like a great setup, and then the ending, I'm like, kind of like Old, M. Night Shyamalan's movie Old, where I'm like, ooh, this is a really interesting concept.
Cool
what are we
premise.
going to do with it? And then it's like, you didn't quite hit the ending like I wanted. I have faith in this movie, though. Just hearing some early reactions from people, they're like, this is great.
Yeah.
This feels like it could be in our top 10s of the year.
I hope so.
Yeah, and that's a lot of praise and a lot of early anticipation and expectations to put on a movie, but so excited for this one.
Yeah, I've really been pleasantly surprised, at least with what we have to look forward to in August. Because August is kind of it's the dog years of summer. We don't really get a lot of the big releases. Those usually come in June and July. Marvel Universe movies typically in May and stuff like that. August kind of peters out. But we have a lot of good genre films that are coming out this month that I'm super excited for. Weapons being the crowning prince of those films that I just absolutely can't wait for. So August is shaping up to be a pretty cool month for movies this upcoming year. Yeah,
the last big release we have this week is Freakier Friday, which is a sequel obviously to Freaky Friday. Came out in 2003, a movie I actually have not seen.
I'm surprised you didn't watch that this week, but also watching the Naked Gun movies takes precedent to me over Freaky Friday as a fan of that first movie.
Yeah, I mean, I may still watch it this week before it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll see it in theaters or not. I guess just depending on work and all that kind of stuff. But Certainly a movie that I just kind of missed out on, of like another one that growing up a lot of people were talking about.
Big
just
Disney
for us.
release.
I'm aware of the concept and everything, but just haven't seen the movie. This one brings back Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, which, much like Pamela Anderson, great to see Lindsay Lohan back.
Yeah.
She looks just like really good. Just like looks like she's healthy again, just like having a good time being in a movie. And so that for me is kind of like goes beyond like what the quality of this movie may be, which I feel like some movies you can go into and be like, it's a fine sequel to a comedy from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like that probably will be how you and I feel about this movie once we do see it.
I think that's the high end of the spectrum. I could see this movie being really bad, but I'm still like pretty excited to see it.
Yeah, and like Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan just being back together, like that's just a sweet thing too. So yeah, that's coming out this week. So a few like big releases coming out going into August, which is nice to see. Physical media wise this week, we have a few things coming out. Friendship, the A24 movie with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd, which I haven't seen yet. I'm very excited to watch it. I know you enjoyed it.
It's very off the beaten path type of humor, but it really worked for me overall. So it's not like Naked Gun is a better comedy movie for me this year, but Friendship is an interesting, fun watch. So I'm excited to see what you how you react to that movie.
Yeah, I think it's either on HBO Max or it's going to be on there soon.
Yeah.
So I'll probably check it out there, and then if I really like it, I'll probably buy the nice A24 release. The other new thing is the second season of 1923, which is the prequel series to Yellowstone. And then we've got a few older releases. Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, coming out on 4K, which I haven't seen that, but I've heard like
I don't think I have either.
it's a Russell Crowe.
Like, Master and Commander? Yeah, I have seen that.
Russell Crowe's on a boat doing stuff, which I'm like, it could be fun. Yeah. I don't know. Sunset Boulevard coming out on 4K, and then Late Night with the Devil on 4K, which I love that movie. It was on both of our top 10s. Mine for sure.
Yeah.
Was it on yours?
Was it 2024 or 2023?
Last year.
It was last year? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like my number 4 or 5.
Yeah,
it was pretty high up.
Yeah, I love that movie. So if you have not seen that movie, definitely check that one out.
That is a movie that is, again, similar to like Death Becomes Her. When I saw Late Night with the Devil, that was an immediate, like, permanent stay in terms of October release or spooky season movies to watch. My wife, that is one of the movies she requests the most that we watch, is Late Night with the Devil or The Menu or Heathers. Those are the 3 movies that around this time of year she's like, I want to watch those 3. All right, bangers all around, sounds great. But Late Night with the Devil on 4K, I already have the Steelbook, so I'm like, I don't think I've even seen what the 4K cover art really looks like, but that's a good release.
That Steelbook we got has like all the cool like air freshener and like art cards and just like a really good release of that movie.
Yeah. But moving into the movie news from this week, I feel like the biggest thing in the last like 24 to 48 hours has been all the updates surrounding Spider-Man Brand New Day, which Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, so I'm immediately excited about this. I also love the John Watts MCU trilogy. Love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, probably even more so. And I think the Amazing Spider-Man movies, at least the first one, is pretty slept on. I know you defend the second one, which is just
There's a lot of good stuff in there.
bewildering to me.
There's good things in there.
There's a suit in that movie that's pretty cool.
Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone, and Andrew Garfield. That relationship is incredible.
I will say that chunk of films has the best on-screen chemistry between like the romantic leads than any of the other Spider-Man franchises.
The ending of Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the most I've ever felt in a Spider-Man movie. The most emotion I've felt
with
like
Gwen. Okay.
Ooh. Like I feel that. I think it's really good. Anyways.
Regardless, Spider-Man Brand New Day coming from director of Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton. We got some kind of small teases of the suit. It was interesting kind of how they've rolled it out because I feel like we got a tease of the suit in like a 2-second clip where you can kind of maybe see raised webbing that is more in line with like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit, which the Sam Raimi, if you're going to look at one movie with the best Spider-Man suits for me, it's Spider-Man 2. I think that's when they perfected the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire suit. It's flawless to me. That is what I associate Spider-Man with. So raised webbing potentially on this suit, that's cool. But then the next day we got a bunch of photos of it, and we can finally see almost full body Tom Holland in the suit. The eyes are roughly the same as what we've seen in the rest of the MCU Spider-Man suits, but then it's almost like Amazing Spider-Man 2 in terms of like the design. The front chest emblem is much bigger than what we've seen in the MCU so far, and is more in line with like the Sam Raimi. More importantly, I think the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So I like the suit. It's not my favorite suit I've ever seen, but I think it is an improvement off of the previous MCU suits, and also it's more of a back to basics suit, which I really appreciate. Aside from that, we also got big casting announcements with Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk will be returning, which is something that's been long rumored, I feel like, for this movie, but he has been confirmed he will be coming back. We also have John Bernthal in this movie, so we'll have Hulk, Punisher, and Spider-Man. That's such an interesting trio, but I can't wait to see it. I immediately think of like the popsicle sets. I don't know if this is going to resonate with you, but like you can get like a Spider-Man bomb pop or like a Wolverine bomb pop or a Hulk bomb pop, and I'm like, that's so cool. But now trade out Wolverine, we got Punisher, get to see John Bernthal in an MCU movie finally. That's cool. I will say the bit of casting news for Spider-Man Brand New Day that has been the most enticing and exciting for me is the return of Michael Mando coming back as Scorpion. He will be paying off that, was it a end teaser credit scene for Homecoming? Where he confronts Michael Keaton in prison, basically like, hey, we're going to kill the bug. Like, we're going to go get him. And now we finally get to see the culmination of that, of him coming back as Scorpion, which is a Spider-Man hero I didn't think we'd really ever see on the big screen, so I'm super excited for it. That was like, whenever I'd play with toys as a kid, I had a Spider-Man, like a Sam Raimi Spider-Man toy, and I had like this amazing Spider-Man random like comic book release of a Scorpion toy. Those were the two that were going toe-to-toe all the time in my house, Spider-Man and Scorpion. So I'm so excited to see him finally in live action. So that's the biggest kind of casting release, at least for me.
Yeah, no, this was a fun little Spider-Man week. I know Friday was Spider-Man Day, so that's when we got that little like teaser of just the close-up, like the shoulders of the suit, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then we got I think it was Saturday morning, we got the kind of full reveal of this, or almost the full reveal. Of Tom Holland
walking
and
in.
like the doors opened, and I'm like, are they doing another Avengers like chairs thing here?
I swear to God, if there's a chair.
But it was the same like setup of these doors opening, but it's just Tom Holland coming out. And I really like the suit, and like there were behind the scenes pictures released of the actual face mask, like the mask of the suit, and you see the eyes, which more or less looks the same as like the other Holland ones. But I think the suit looks great. It's honestly could be like one of my favorites once I see it in the movie.
Yeah.
And I think it combines so many good things of the raised webbing, like you said, of the Tobey Maguire stuff, and then the bigger logo, like the Andrew Garfield ones, mixed with kind of the coloring at the end of No Way Home. And I think it's just such a perfect, like, you know, encapsulation of everything that Spider-Man is in a suit.
Yeah, and what we've seen
Love
before.
it. And I hope that it goes back to not being like an Iron Man Jr. type of
Iron Man pajamas.
Yeah, and like having the Friday voice in there. I'm like, if it's just like Spider-Man in a suit, just doing his thing.
Give me broke kid in a suit he made with his powers. That's what Spider-Man is.
Because I love the suit from that we see in Homecoming, like the little tease of
thrown together,
and like Civil War, where it's just like goggles and just like a hoodie. Like that's like kind of similar to like Daredevil when he first makes his kind of like black mask.
I prefer that over his actual suit. That's crazy.
I like that stuff. So I'm a big fan of the suit. I think it's a great way to tease this movie without having to do a full trailer right now. We'll get that maybe later this year before Avatar, early next year for the Super Bowl, something like that. But yeah, Mark Ruffalo coming back as Hulk. I hope he actually turns into the Hulk. I don't want Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
I'm kind of over that right now. Michael Mando as Scorpion. I love that. They do some cool stuff with Scorpion in the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. They bring him in as a villain, so it's great to see. And then Michael Mando, he is incredible in Better Call Saul. He plays a character called Nacho Varga, and he is one of the standouts of that show. He's such a great actor and such a big, crucial part of that story leading into Breaking Bad as well. So I love him. I'm glad to see him coming back from Homecoming, that little scene that you mentioned there. So I can't wait for this movie. I liked all this little news. It's been fun just getting this casting and then kind of the suit reveal as well.
I can't wait for this movie. Based on one I've loved, Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. I think that they're all like really well done Spider-Man movies. Homecoming might be my favorite of those. I go back and forth between No Way Home. No Way Home has a lot of nostalgia because of what it is, but Homecoming, I'm like, that is just so perfect, like Ferris Bueller-esque. John Hughes, Peter Parker in high school, figuring it out. going on dates and then fighting the Vulture. Like, it works so well.
Yeah.
I will say, I loved originally that first suit that we saw of Spider-Man in the MCU and Captain America: Civil War. I was like, boom, I liked it. It's different. It has eyes that move. Like, the logo is a little bit smaller, but like, it works. It fits the MCU. I like that we've kind of what you were talking about, encapsulated and moved on from what we've already been experienced to, not only in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but also Sam Raimi and the Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. So I really do like the suit. It is it will be a little bit dependent on how it looks in the final film, just because while I've loved the suits in the Tom Holland Spider-Man world in the MCU, they always look very smooth, and that's why the raised webbing makes me really excited. Mm-hmm. I'm like, finally some texture, so it doesn't have like this CGI kind of fuzziness, this cleanness, to where it is just like a pajama suit of Iron Man. So I'm really excited. I can't wait. Destin Daniel Cretton, I think, is the perfect choice to kind of supersede John Watts in terms of continuing on Spider-Man in the MCU. So I'm really excited to see what he does with this movie and how they kind of move Spider-Man forward and then have to further cement him as a character before Doomsday. So I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I think it's a great reveal too, just of like showing him in the suit, because like in Infinity War and Endgame we saw the Iron Spider suit, which is just all CGI obviously, which like that's fun in its own way, but this is great. Physical. Physical suit, which is awesome. So can't wait for that. A little bit of a trailer roundup. One trailer that we didn't mention last week from San Diego Comic-Con was the It Welcome to Derry trailer, the prequel series to the Andy Muschietti It films, which I enjoy the first one a lot. I like parts of the second movie.
Parts,
some of the casting's really good, but I think that the show could be interesting. Just every, 27 years of Pennywise coming back, of seeing his impact in the town. It could be good, and it looks, very well made. HBO Max is putting out quality TV shows all the time, so curious about that one for sure. I think that's this fall, if I remember right.
I think so. I'll double check that.
Yeah, which feels like a good, kind of spooky season type thing to watch every week. And then a couple other trailers we got this week. Zootopia 2, we had a little teaser earlier this year, but we got more of a full trailer showing some of the story. Which, I love the first Zootopia. I think it's a great movie, and I'm excited and curious about the second one. And then we also got The Conjuring Last Rites, which I feel like not as many people are talking about. The Conjuring franchise is sort of kind of dying out a bit. This feels like it could be one of the last big movies in the Conjuring universe. It's had its highs and lows. I think the first two Conjuring movies are great. And I think Annabelle Creation's really good. The Nun 2 is really solid.
The Nun 2 was a massive surprise.
Big surprise for sure. And then, Annabelle Comes Home and Conjuring 3. Like, there's some in the middle there that I enjoy enough. And then you have your, the first Annabelle and Curse of La Llorona and kind of the So I hope that this one at least falls in the middle. Mm-hmm. And is just like, if it's on the same level as Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. I'd be okay with that. I like seeing Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. I think that just kind of elevates it ahead of some of the other ones. Just seeing, they're great in the roles, and the trailer doesn't look scary. Like, the Conjuring movies are not really scary. It's more of just, maybe a couple visuals that are ooh, that's interesting. Yeah. And, the story, I hope, is more interesting than some of the last couple.
Yeah. The Conjuring universe movies are usually, to me, at least speaking of the mainline, the Conjuring films, not necessarily the Annabelles and the La Lloronas, but the Conjuring films have always been well made to me, but they're not they're usually still based around jump scares. It's a very modern horror take on things. But what is your favorite of the Conjuring universe? Not just the Conjuring films. Do you have a distinct favorite? Is it that first one?
Yeah, it is the first one. But I know the second one I think is your favorite, and I love that movie too. So those two are the top, and then maybe Annabelle Creation, probably a top 3 there.
Annabelle Creation. Nun 2, just being a massive surprise. Yeah. I never saw the first Nun. I only heard dog shit things.
It's not that good.
And then coming off of, my wife is a big fan of the what is it? It was Murder House. What is it? Is it not American Murder Story? Horror Story? American Horror Story. That's what it is. The first season is Murder House. I had to figure it out. I'm like, fuck, what is it? It's super generic. But Murder House, which has Vera Farmiga, and my wife's a big fan of that, so we watched that season of that show. And then we went to go see The Nun 2 because that's Vera Farmiga. And I was really surprised by some of the scares in that movie, and I really... Still jump scares, but overall really enjoyed that movie. The Conjuring 2 I love. And yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Is if it's on like the same kind of level as The Devil Made Me Do It, which is a horror movie that wasn't made by James Bond, but within this universe I think is still pretty well done, then I'd be happy to go see it in theaters, and I think I'd get enough out of it to where I would be like, yeah, this is a good time at the theaters. In terms of It, Welcome to Derry, I'm super excited for that. I, like you, really love that first Andy Muschietti movie. The part 2, which is it's the failure of the It book, is that the second half, the latter half, when you're an adult, it's just not as scary, at least visually, even though some of their fears are a little bit more believable and relatable. But the second half of that story tends to falter, so I didn't love that second movie, but I like the idea of this show, and it is coming out on October 1st, so that gives us something to look forward to right at the start of October, right at the start of spooky season or Halloween season. So I can't wait. Zootopia 2, I'm at the point where it's like I'm not going to watch any trailers for really anything animated unless it's Beyond the Spider-Verse. Like whenever that drops a trailer, I'll watch that. But if it's an animated movie, not that I think animated is a lesser medium, I love animation, it's just I'll see the movie when I see the movie. If I'm enticed enough by the story, I'll go see it. It doesn't matter if it's animated. And I feel like in animation, nothing's gonna change the scale or change the tide for me. If I'm already going into the mindset that I'm gonna go see this movie, I'll go see it. So Zootopia 2, I'm a big fan of the first one. I just found out recently that my wife hasn't seen the first one, so I think that's gonna be a movie that I make her watch with me because I think it is one of the better Disney releases in the past like 10 to 15 years. So I am excited for the second one. I didn't watch this trailer. Am I still excited? Yes. Am I excited because I didn't watch this trailer? Maybe, because I remember the announcement trailer for Zootopia 2 that came up on like my news feed or something on Instagram, or on my like feed on Instagram. I was like, what the fuck is this? And I remember watching that, the one we talked about it, and I was like, okay, whatever.
That's just like, there's like no dialogue in that first one.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just like simply a tease of whatever, yeah.
But all of these projects I'm actually like somewhat anticipating, so I will be checking them out to a degree, and I think of these three, Welcome to Derry is the one I'm most excited about, just because I'm like, that's a cool concept. Again, being more of almost like an anthology show about the appearances of Pennywise or the presence of Pennywise throughout Derry is something that I'm really excited about. So I will be eagerly waiting that and likely watching that this upcoming October. The piece of news that I think is the creme de la creme, best piece of news that I could have ever received this past week came out in the form of Stephen Knight being announced as the writer of Bond 25. Stephen Knight is the director of one of my favorite films of all time, which is Locke, starring Tom Hardy. I'm also very appreciative of Corey allowing me to be the one that introduces this topic. But Stephen Knight was the director of Locke. I love that film starring Tom Hardy. He directed Redemption, Serenity, two films that I heard didn't live up to the quality of Locke. I haven't seen Serenity, but I've heard about it, and it seems insane.
Yeah. Also not the Firefly Serenity,
no.
the Matthew McConaughey one.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey one that's with Anne Hathaway in a video game. He also was the writer of Maria, Spencer, and Allied. Maria and Spencer are two amazing period pieces and amazing biographical dramas about very, very influential women of our time. And he also is the creator of Taboo and Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders is a show I've started, I've never continued on with, but it is like the burning hole in my like repertoire of shows that I've missed out on. Me and my wife both want to watch Peaky Blinders. I'll probably end up watching it, especially as I think that they have a movie coming out sometime soon, so we might try and watch all throughout that series just to get caught up in time for that movie. But the creator of Taboo is also a big selling point for me. Taboo with Tom Hardy is one of my favorite. To this point, it's a limited series just because we've only had one season, but they left it open to where more story could come out. I hope that they do a season 2, but that first season is so gothic and of its time and just so perfect to me. So far in the projects that I've seen of Stephen Knight's, whether it's his directing or his writing, I have been a big fan of it. I know he is capable of writing movies like Serenity or working on films like Serenity, but you have Stephen Knight writing a Bond film, which is my favorite franchise of all time, couple that with Denis Villeneuve, who's my favorite working director today, making a Bond film. This is a match made in cinema heaven for me. So this is the biggest piece of news for me this week. I can't fucking wait. And I'm so giddy about the idea of Stephen Knight and Denis Villeneuve working on my favorite franchise.
This might just be your favorite movie of all time.
It has potential. It has potential. No Time to Die was a massive, massive swing at like my top 100 of all time. It was a movie that when I saw it, I loved it, and it just gradually... I saw it like 11 times in theaters, which that movie's 2 hours and 40-something minutes long. But every time I saw it, it just knocked out movies from my top 100 and kept climbing, and it's in my top 20 of all time. I love that movie. So Bond has a very special place in my heart. I grew up on that franchise. Stephen Knight has made Locke, which is maybe my 11th favorite film of all time. I watch that movie all the time. It's 80 minutes long. It's a brisk watch. It's so well done. And then you have Denis Villeneuve to support in terms of directing the script by Stephen Knight. That is like my thighs to my knees to my shins are sticky right now. I can't fucking wait. So this is better than Christmas. This is 8 Christmases as a child compacted into one. Like, this is the best piece of news I could have gotten.
This is like the second third of the big news of like you get the director, you get the writer, who's going to be Bond.
That will also kind of dictate how excited I am, because with like a lot of the more recent rumors of like younger castings and like, I swear to God, if you cast Tom Holland as Bond, I'll kill someone. Like. That will dictate a little bit, but at this point, with the story that I'm sure is going to be of such a high quality surrounding whoever is eventually playing Bond, I am sold through and through. It's just now, all right, give me the casting information. Yeah,
I am also, like you, I need to watch through Peaky Blinders, and that movie's coming out, I think, next year.
Fuck, okay, that's a tight turnaround.
So I've kind of... last couple years, like I'll try and watch through like a classic or like a highly acclaimed show I haven't seen. So like Succession, I did recently. Ozark was like last year I watched through. So Peaky Blinders is certainly on that list of like an older show, or not older, but just kind of a completed show that I need to watch through. So
we have a couple of buddies that consistently that is the show that they always bring up to us, where it's like some people will always tell me you need to watch Game of Thrones. I have like some buddies that are in like our softball team that are like, Peaky Blinders is the best thing ever made. I'm like, okay, fine. Not that I discredit that, like I'm sure it is really good. I can't wait to watch it.
I'm stoked to see that. So probably late this year I'll probably start watching that. Some other news we got this week: A Quiet Place Part 3 is coming out in July of 2027, directed by John Krasinski. Once again, he directed the first 2 movies, and then A Quiet Place Day 1 came out, was that last year? Last year, I think, from Michael Sarnowski, and I really like all 3 movies that we've gotten so far, and I'm cool if we do a Quiet Place trilogy with, like, the main Emily Blunt family and the kids, and then if we, like, Day 1, I think was a really good spin-off of showing that initial reaction to this alien invasion, and if they... post like A Quiet Place Part 3, if they want to do other stories set further down the line of like how they're fighting these things, how it concludes, I'm cool with that. I love John Krasinski. He's probably my favorite celebrity if I had to pick one. Like if I could
overall wow.
I like Jim from The Office is my favorite character in any movie or show I've ever seen. Like I love The Office. It's my favorite comedy show. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, so like I love John Krasinski. He's great. Like I don't know, I love Jim. I connect with Jim a lot. So I'm excited. I think his first 2 Quiet Place movies are great. Which he directed a couple of years ago or last year. Within the last couple of years. I didn't love that movie. I think it's a fine family movie, but it's not on that same level really. But within this franchise, he is just really captured the family dynamic, and the horror and like the sound design of these movies is great. So really excited for this. It sucks that we have to wait kind of a long time to get it, but I'm very excited for it.
It's the Quiet Place franchise, just because I didn't know if we'd ever get a part 3. Like I figured once they made part 2 and how that film wraps up that we'd eventually get a part 3, but it's been so long removed since the ending of that second film to where I'm like, we might not get a part 3, and I just kind of came to accept that. I will say this franchise, whether it's directed by John Krasinski or Mike Sarnowski, with A Quiet Place Day One. These films are some of the most well done, technically made films in terms of the horror genre. Whether it's sound, whether it's blocking, whether it's character work. The first Quiet Place movie, when that came out, I remember crying when I saw that movie. Like that in the very big climactic scene of John Krasinski sacrificing himself. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen this franchise. But that fucking tore me asunder. I was like, God damn. But these films are so well made. This is one of those franchises that is still like new-ish. It came out, I think, the first one in like 2018. And we've had like 7 years of A Quiet Place. We've had the first one, the second one, and day one. And I love all of those films. It's one of those genres where I'm like, you can do whatever you want with this franchise. As long as it's within the right hands, do whatever you want. I support. I'm so excited that we're kind of getting, hopefully, like a trilogy capper with part 3 and resolving a lot of that story with the family, especially with Emily Blunt coming back. Hopefully, I'm assuming she's coming back. So I can't wait for that movie. July 9th, 2027. Again, it's a movie that's going to be in the back of my mind for a long time. But when it comes out, those like 2 weeks leading up to it, I'm going to be so fucking hyped. I was so like, not that I was doubting A Quiet Place Day One, but the fact that it wasn't part 3, I was like, what are we doing? Why are we doing a spinoff? And then Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn proved to me why that movie should exist. That movie is so well done, and the performances in that movie are phenomenal. And now I'm like, Quiet Place world, Quiet Place franchise, you can do no wrong, do whatever you want. I'm going to go see it no matter what, but I am really excited the fact that we're going to get somewhat of a trilogy capper with Quiet Place Part 3. Another weird news, we've already reported on the film of Social Network 2 coming from Aaron Sorkin, and kind of our thoughts on it. We love that original movie, and we think it's still very relevant today, and honestly it becomes more and more relevant the further you get away from it as we kind of experience weird shit with technology throughout our everyday life. But Social Network 2 is coming from Aaron Sorkin, so it's in good hands. But they're also reportedly eyeing leads for this film in the amazing performances consistently put on screen, at least in The Bear, from Jeremy Strong. Jeremy Allen White, I should say. Jeremy Strong coming from The Apprentice, The Succession, and also our most recent Best Actress winner, Mikey Madison, coming from, which I know Corey is yet to be won over on that. I'm accepting of her winning that award. But this is a strong trio to announce of Jeremy Strong, Mikey Madison, and Jeremy Allen White for the cast of Social Network 2. I think Jeremy Strong was the one rumored to be potentially playing a older Zuckerberg, and from his Oscar-nominated performance in The Apprentice, whatever he's in, massive props to me. Love him in that movie. Overall, I like the cast of this movie. I struggled to get excited for this movie, not because of the cast, but because I'm like, I don't think I need this movie. So time will tell in terms of like how excited I become for this. All I know is that this is already a very strong cast. Jeremy Allen White is someone that, whether it's him in Iron Claw, I've only seen the first season of The Bear, but he's obviously phenomenal in The Bear. So I'm a big fan of all 3 of these actors. I'm really excited to see kind of how this film takes shape in the coming years before it's released, to see if it's like, yeah, this is event filmmaking, I need to go see this, or if it's like, it came out and it went, like, whatever. So, Corey, how do you feel about the casting announcements for
Okay, first note on Mikey Madison winning Best Actress.
You said, give me a second.
If you've been listening for a while, you know that I do not really care for the movie Nora. I kind of threw a big fit when it won Best Picture. I threw a lot of things around the apartment when it won. I had to take a walk outside when that movie won Best Picture because I was very upset. That is not an opinion that really anybody else in the world shares. Everybody in every other aspect of my life is like, I love Nora. That movie is so good.
I like it more than you. I don't know if I love it yet, but I like it more than you.
Yeah, like everybody likes it more than I do. Everybody is like, that ending scene is so good. I'm like, I don't know. He's a sad stripper that's sad at the end of the movie still. Demi Moore in The Substance last year gave, I would argue, just as good of a performance.
I think better. I
also think better.
I was a little bit, I wasn't surprised that Mikey Madison won, But I think that, like, Demi Moore gave the better performance all around in terms of the Oscars.
And I don't like to... Sometimes the Oscars, like, they give the award to maybe an older actor that's like, this is maybe their last... Like a Gary Oldman type, or like... It's like, oh,
this is our down payment.
They've paid their dues. Yeah. This is their thing. I don't think that's the case with Demi Moore. She should have won Best Actress. She, in my mind, is the best actress of last year with The Substance because she is better than Mikey Madison.
When I said
Nora.
that Mikey Madison was the crowning winner, I was already like, wait, did she win or was it Demi Moore? Because I was like, in my head, I remember going into the awards last year, I really wanted Demi Moore, and I thought like the tides were kind of leaning that way. I think I chose Mikey Madison on our ballot.
You did, yeah.
But it was only because I was like, I was planning for what I was hoping wouldn't happen, as opposed to what I thought could and should happen. And I was right, but in the worst of ways. Not that Mikey Madison isn't a great actress. She's great in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think she's great in Anora. But if you're going to compare those two performances, I think Demi Moore did better. Regardless.
That was just I had to throw that out there. Mikey Madison is great. Yeah. Mikey Madison is great. I still have a lot of anger over Anora. Because I just have people that are watching it for the first time and like, that movie's so good. Have you seen it? I'm like, yeah.
I still haven't shown my wife that movie, and she was really excited about it when it came out, and then obviously the Oscars and it getting Best Picture and all the awards that it won. My wife still is like, I want to watch it, but it's kind of, that conversation has died off a little bit, so I'm really eager to watch it with her and see how she feels about it and see if she echoes a lot of the things that we've already heard from everyone else of like, oh my god, this movie's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I like it. Like, it's good.
Anyways, that's my Mikey Madison rant. She's a great actress, though. Yeah, I don't want to downplay that. So the casting, I think, is good. Jeremy Strong as Mark Zuckerberg actually kind of works.
That works for me.
That works for me. And I think initially when this movie got kind of announced, I was like you mentioned, the first one, that is my favorite Fincher movie. I think it's one of the most important movies of this century.
Yeah.
I love that movie just in terms of what it says about social media and the blow up that it's had. And it was so ahead of its time in 2010, even, like when it was the very early stages. So I love the original one, but I do think there are interesting avenues you could go down with how social media has progressed.
Yeah.
Curious to see how that works. Aaron Sorkin, I love. Trial Chicago 7, Being the Ricardos, I think are two really good movies that were just kind of released on streaming. So I hope this one gets to theaters. I like the cast a lot. So if these people do end up getting cast in the movie, this is kind of speculation at this point. Yeah. But excited to see how this movie takes shape and like what time period it is taking place in as well, like what years it's going. So curious to see that one. Last little bit of movie news we have is Celine Song, who recently came out with Materialists, which I still haven't seen, but I'm excited to watch. But also directed Past Lives, which was Oscar nominated for Best Screenplay and Best Picture, which I love that movie so much.
Fantastic movie.
She's doing a sequel to My Best Friend's Wedding, which is another 90s movie that I haven't seen, starring Julia Roberts. I know it's kind of a rom-com type movie. I've heard a lot of people love it. Again, kind of aware of it, but just haven't seen it. This is okay. I kind of wish she was doing more just original things like she's done with the past two movies, but I don't want to discount it because it could be really good. But yeah, I guess I'll probably watch My Best Friend's Wedding before this comes out. But Celine Song's very talented, so I'm excited to see how she handles this kind of sequel to another legacy rom-com.
Yeah. Celine Song is, like, hearing that she's attached to any sort of project immediately gives you kind of high-level anticipation and excitement for it. Past Lives was phenomenal in terms of its writing and its direction. It is one of the most, like, relatable and upsetting movies, I think, of the past couple of years. And it's a good movie about just, like, modern-day romance, whereas, like, The Materialists, for me, this year has been one of my bigger disappointments. I had pretty high hopes, especially coming off of Past Lives, and it has a great cast, at least Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans and Dakota Johnson, but I don't think that film really lived up to the high level of quality that was set with Past Lives. It's really interesting seeing now that Celine Song is attached to another somewhat romance movie. So I'm like, it's fun finding out the genre of this director and where she's kind of sinking her teeth into it. So I haven't seen My Best Friend's Wedding. I've heard great things about it. It's just something that I've never gone back and watched. Maybe I'll go back and see it I know that right now at this point she's only tapped to write it, so I don't know how much of an influence she's going to have if she's also not the one directing it. Kind of like you, I'd rather her do more original stuff, but with that being said, Materialists I didn't love, and that was original stuff. So anything that kind of rights the ship for me in terms of Celine Song, whether she writes a really well done script in terms of a sequel to My Best Friend's Wedding and it works, then fine, I'll take that and I'll be happy with it. I'm at the point where I'm like, just go back to Past Lives, go back to like the relatable, depressing shit, or do a comedy. I feel like she has some good sensibilities even within Materialists. That movie didn't work overall for me, but I'm like, I think you get comedy, I think you're funny, and like there are some scenes in that movie that had me like laughing like pretty good. So I was like, you know what, you might be able to like jump ship from this genre and move on to something different and show that you are capable of handling that. But overall, I think that it's somewhat exciting and interesting news. So whether this film develops into being her kind of brainchild or if it's something that she writes and someone else directs is yet to be seen. But I think it's kind of it's an interesting move, and it is still within that genre. So it overall works for me, and anything she's going to do, I'm excited to go see. I'm just hoping it's better than Materialists. Regardless, thank you for sitting and having some liquor drinks with us for another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more in-depth movie reviews and news, and subscribe to our podcast, whether any sort of RSS feed you can find. We appreciated it. If you leave any comments on anything we could improve upon, we might look at it. I don't think I've looked at a single comment on anything ever, so
We don't get that many.
We don't really get that many, so it's fine. But regardless, thanks for watching. Thanks for sitting and talking movies with us. In the world of film, it's not just about what happens on screen, but also about who's sitting next to you in the theater.
Did OJ do it? I don't know. We didn't really get back to that.
We didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Crazy.
There's a good joke that's in the new movie that was also... I feel like they should have saved it for the movie and not the trailer.
Yeah.
Because it just plays out the exact same as the way it does in the trailer.
Also, showing restraint to only do one OJ joke. Pretty great.
Very true. Yeah.
It's great. Sorry, I know we're trying to end the episode, but...
Back to Naked Gun.
When I was watching Naked Gun 33 and a third...
Strong.
It came out in March of 1994.
I was also wondering the timeline.
It came out in March of 1994, and then OJ had an interesting summer of 1994.
Go see him in theaters. The cinema's near you.
Yeah. That's crazy. So, you know what? Stay tuned for next week when we dive into whether he did it or not.
This is going to become a true crime podcast only, and we're going to
Yep.
talk about O.J. Simpson all of next week.
Yeah, he's not around anymore, so it's tough to know if he truly did it or not.
Yeah.
But Mason's going to dive really deep into it next week.
Only me.
He's going to give his full thoughts
On the O.J. trial,
Yeah.
while Corey supports with his stats from the NFL.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
God, he was so good.
He was
Holy
he was kind of killer in the
Dude,
NFL.
he was insane.
dude fucking annihilated.
Dude was a tank. Wow, can't deny that, huh? Anyways, from Mason and I, it's late night. That's a wrap.
good.